My bad, my bad. What's good though? I ain't all the way prepared here, but what's good? How you day going? Morning, evening, night, whenever you're watching this video. But look, let's check out top 3 videos with disturbing backstories part 2 by the homie Mr. Ballen. Number 1, well, it's technically number 3, but it's gonna be the first story that we're going to hear. I think we saw this one on Nick Crowley, the guy who was stuck in the attic as he was filming the tornado. If I remember correctly, didn't something happen where the tornado came like towards him in some kind of way? I don't remember exactly 100% what happened. We saw it a while ago. But it's freaking number 1. Technically the third story that we're going to hear though. A reality show contestant isn't who he says he is. Yo, I was just wondering, like, is it legit a show that was popular, that was on the air, that I used to watch? Or is it just some like hole in the wall rinky-dink ass show that used to come on? It was like, oh yeah, if you lived in this city and had channel 3.2, then it came on that channel. I don't know, but look, either way, go back and watch the video. Want to check out the original video? Link will be in the description below, but let's go.
Today, I'm going to share with you 3 progressively more disturbing stories, and at the end of each of them, I'm going to share with you the video that is famously associated with them. But before I get into today's stories, if you're a fan of the strange, dark, and mysterious delivered in story format, then you've come to the right channel, because that's all I do, and I upload 3, 4, even 5 times every week. So if that's of interest to you, please offer the like button a ride home from soccer practice, but then don't show up. Also, please subscribe to this channel and turn on all notifications so you don't miss any of my weekly uploads. All right, let's get into today's stories.
Rest in peace, Mom. Had many of those nights, but some mine was baseball. She was late though, she came.
On April 9th, 2015, residents of the tiny farming community Fairdale, Illinois, woke up to heavy rains outside and an ominous forecast. Severe thunderstorms were going to persist all day, and then at night there was a chance of a tornado. Meteorologists were telling residents of Fairdale that if you can, you should evacuate because it's not worth sticking around for. But if you're going to ride out the storm, make sure you take in the necessary precautions and make sure you have a plan for how to get to a shelter if the storm gets really bad. That morning, some forecasters were saying this tornado could prove to be one of the biggest in Illinois' history. But most of the 152 Fairdale residents had lived here their whole lives, and they'd seen bad storms before, even tornadoes, and they had ridden them out before. How could this one be any different? You know, most of the time, the worst that happened was maybe a power line comes down and you lose power for the day. But unlike previous storms, this one was getting worse and worse by the minute, and by 6 p.m. that night, forecasters were no longer theorizing that this could be a huge tornado. They were outright pleading with Fairdale residents to evacuate while you still
I'll
can.
leave.
But despite these warnings, the vast majority of Fairdale residents stayed put. They were committed to riding the storm out.
And I ain't gonna lie, we rolled all of ours. The only thing we did was go in the basement when we had tornado warnings. But like we had one that was real bad to the point where it was just swinging the door back open like boom, boom. But luckily I never been in anyone that was like really crazy though. But man, people just get stuck in their ways.
Vast majority of Fairdale residents stayed put. They were committed to riding the storm out. By 7 p.m., meteorologists were saying this tornado is imminent and it looks as big or bigger than the last major tornado that came through Illinois that killed 8 people and leveled an entire town. This tornado tonight is going to kill people. Just 15 minutes later at 7:15, the tornado finally touched down right outside of Fairdale. It was this massive, almost mile-wide tornado with over 200-mile-an-hour winds, and unlike other tornadoes of that size that typically move at about 30 miles an hour, this one was traveling on land at about 15 miles an hour, meaning it would be sitting over the areas. It was devastating for longer amounts of time.
Someone told me, I don't know if it's true or not, they say if you are in the vicinity of a tornado or whatever, if it looked like it's going away, that means it's coming towards you, I think. Or as if it's getting, like the sound is getting more faint, then it's one of those. I forgot, I could Google it. I probably saw it on Facebook, so more than likely it ain't real anyway. I think it's dumb on there.
This one was traveling on land at about 15 miles an hour, meaning it would be sitting over the areas. It was devastating for longer amounts of time, making it even worse than some of the worst predictions that meteorologists had for this tornado. 15 minutes later at 7:30 p.m., 84-year-old Fairdale resident Clem Schultz and his wife Jerry Schultz They were at home because they had decided to ride out the storm. As Clem is sitting in the living room watching the Weather Channel, kind of waiting for the last possible second to go into their basement, he hears his wife yell out from the kitchen to come in here and look at this. So Clem goes into the kitchen and she's pointing out the back window, and he looks out and he sees this massive tornado coming right at them. It's less than a mile away, and it is way bigger than he thought it was going to be. But from their perspective, because the tornado was spinning counterclockwise, it kind of looked like it was spinning away from town into this empty field.
But
and Clem says to his wife, Jerry, you know what? It looks like it's going to miss us, but we're probably going to lose power, so I'm going to go up into the attic and get some lanterns ready. So Jerry stays in the kitchen. Clem goes up into the attic, and as he's fishing to get out the lanterns, he hears what sounds like a freight train barreling through town, and he had this little window at the edge of his attic, so he goes over and he looks out, and the tornado had not veered off into the open field. It had continued straight towards his house, and it was ripping off roofs right in front of him. And he figured, I don't have enough time to go down into the basement. I have no time to do anything. So he takes out his phone and he begins recording.
I'm sorry, but bullshit. If I got time to take him out, I'm a attempt.
Basement. I have no time to do anything. So he takes out his phone and he begins recording.
Damn. Yeah, I would have hella had time. Survive, right? God damn!
Clem's house.
I'm sorry, dog. You know what's real trippy about that? If that sounded that bad for me over headphones, imagine what it sounded like for him and his wife.
Clem's house, along with all the others in that video, collapsed. And initially, Clem thought he had died because it went totally quiet and it was totally dark. And he actually said out loud, "Am I dead?" But it was the pain in his back from a crushed vertebrae that told him, no, you survived. And he begins to kind of pull himself out of the rubble, and before long, a neighbor is pulling him out. And as soon as he's out of the rubble of his house, he looks around and his whole community is pretty much gone. And as he's standing there kind of bewildered, his neighbor says, "Clem, don't look down." And Clem says, "Why?" And his neighbor says, "Because your wife is under you and she's dead." When the dust had finally settled, not only had Clem's wife been killed, but Clem's neighbor had been killed as well, because the tornado went directly through their two houses. That video that Clem shot is now used to educate people on how dangerous tornadoes really are, and how anytime a tornado is coming through your area, never go outside to film it, seek shelter.
Man. And the crazy part is, as kids, my mom was even letting us. We used to be outside just looking. We ain't had like phones with cameras and shit, but we was just outside as kids, just playing. Look like legit. We never evacuated. Granted, I mean, I will say this though. Luckily for us, we've only had one where it was like a warning when it was like, "Yo, y'all should legit get out of town. This one might be kind of dangerous." But we still didn't. Love my mom, but my parents are hard-headed, boy. I'm telling you. I don't know about maybe everybody, but older people from Alabama or Mississippi, you can't tell them shit. Oh, gosh. Like, all right, you niggas is hard-headed.
Dangerous tornadoes really are, and how anytime a tornado is coming through your area, never go outside to film it, seek shelter. On Sunday, February 12th, 2017, Abigail Williams was over her best friend, Liberty German's house for a sleepover. Abby and Libby were 13 and 14, respectively. That night, as they're laying in bed, they were looking out the window, hoping they saw snowflakes come down, because there was apparently this huge storm that was going to roll through the next day, and they were hoping that if it did, school would be canceled the next day. But when they woke up the next morning, it hadn't even snowed. However, they found out that in Delphi, Indiana, where they lived, school had been canceled preemptively in anticipation of this big storm that never really amounted to anything. So the girls got a free day off where they could actually go outside and enjoy it. So the girls start talking about how they're going to spend their extra day off, and Libby suggests, well, why don't we go check out the Monon High Bridge? It was this abandoned bridge that crossed over the stream, and a lot of their classmates would take pictures on it and post it to their social media, and the girls figured this is a great day to go do that. So Libby asks her grandmother, Becky, who was her primary caretaker, if it would be okay if they went for a hike over near this bridge. Becky gives them permission, but with the caveat that they would find their own ride there and back. So Libby convinces her older sister Kelsey to give them a ride there, and Libby speaks to her father, Derek, and he says he can pick them up, but he'd only be able to pick them up at a very specific time, which would only give the girls a couple of hours at the bridge, but they thought that was fine and that was plenty of time. So a couple hours later, at about 1:30 in the afternoon, Kelsey drops off the two girls at the start of the trail that's going to bring them to this bridge. We know the girls made it to the bridge because at 2:07 p.m., Libby posted a picture to her social media of Abby walking across the bridge. At 3:11 p.m., Libby's father, Derek, texted her and said, hey, I'm going to be there in a minute. Just want to make sure you guys are there to meet me. And she didn't text Derek back, and Derek would later say that that was pretty unusual for her. At 3:14 p.m., Derek arrives at the meeting spot, and the girls are nowhere to be found. And so Derek tries calling. There's no answer. He texts his daughter, no response. And so he ends up calling Becky, Libby's grandmother, his mother, and says, hey, did the girls contact you and change plans about where I was picking them up or when? And Becky said, no, I haven't heard from them. They said they'd be there at 3. They should be there now. I haven't heard from them. And Derek says he can't get in touch with them. So for the next 10 minutes, Becky and her husband, Mike, Libby's grandfather, just try calling over and over and over again to the girls, but nothing's going through. They can't get them to respond to text messages. So
hold up, my bad. I went back real quick because I can definitely tell what this picture is. I can see it in mom's face, the pain. Definitely know what's going on, and dad got to be the strong one. Because I was just about to say, I hope it's one of those stories where it's like, I would take this at this point. I was like, yo, maybe the kids ventured off somewhere into like nature somewhere. We know how we get these stories, and some ish went down. Don't know what happened. They came back though, got them back, but they don't remember what happened. I was like, yo, I'll take one of those stories at this point. But once I saw this picture, and I was like, yep, this is one of those type of stories. And the crazy thing is, at 13 or 14, I know a lot of people will be thinking now, it's like, no, I wouldn't let my kid do that, blah, blah, blah. Personal experience, me at 13 and 14, I know I would have been allowed to do that. And I know I have been allowed to do that. Probably at an even younger age, I used to be all over the city of Flint. That's why when it got to this one particular party he was talking about, it kind of made it feel more relatable and kind of pulled me more into the story, but kind of tripped me out a bit when I noticed the only rule was a rule that definitely I used to hear a lot. Yeah, I'll take you, but somebody else got to bring you back. That was it. They'll probably question where you're going, but it was not like a huge worry. Damn, this shit is all right. I'm gonna get back to the video. Basically, it was just once I saw that picture, I was like, yeah, I can kind of put together what kind of picture this is, this scene.
3, they should be there now. I haven't heard from them. And Derek says he can't get in touch with them. So for the next 10 minutes, Becky and her husband, Mike, Libby's grandfather, just try calling over and over and over again to the girls, but nothing's going through. They can't get them to respond to text messages. So Mike leaves and meets up with Derek in the parking lot, and the two of them begin walking the trail to try to find these girls. At this point, the family's not suspecting foul play. They're thinking, the girls probably got lost, or they lost track of time, or their phones just ran out of batteries, or maybe they did get hurt and they can't move, but it's probably not that serious. They're creating scenarios in their head to rationalize what's happening. But by the time the sun went down at about 5 p.m. and there was still no sign of these girls, they ended up calling the police and officially reporting the girls missing.
Try not to panic. You start to tell yourself, it's like, you know what? No, it's just, I'm overtaking this. And then when reality starts to kick in, I fucking hate that shit, man. My bad.
And there was still no sign of these girls. They ended up calling the police and officially reporting the girls missing. By 6 p.m. that night, there is this massive search combing the trail looking for these girls, but all night, they're looking everywhere with hundreds of searchers and there's no sign of them. The following day, on Tuesday, February 14th, one of the searchers was about a half mile away from the bridge where the girls have been taking those pictures, and they discovered the girls' bodies right next to a creek. The police didn't release their cause of death. However, they said, without a doubt, this is a homicide. because apparently the scene was incredibly disturbing and had at least 2 or 3 signatures. Signatures are things done to the victims that are above and beyond what is required to end their life. Things like writing on the victims or their body position, or much, much worse. And usually you only see signatures when you're dealing with a serial killer.
Yep.
3 days after the bodies were discovered, police were able to extract some video from Libby's phone. It turns out when Libby was taking those pictures of Abby on the bridge and had just posted it to social media, apparently this guy had come on the bridge and Libby must have sensed danger and she began filming him. Now, there is apparently a video that starts from the bridge and lasts all the way through the girl's final moments. But the police would release a very small snippet of this recording because it showed who they believe is the killer walking towards them with his hands in his pockets looking down, and he says to them, "Guys, down the hill."
No fucking way, man.
Despite thousands of tips pouring in as soon as this video was made public, they still don't know who this guy is, no arrests have been made, and the case remains unsolved.
Damn, I'm so glad Mr. Ballen did not. I knew Mr. Ballen wasn't gonna show that video, but I do get the part of showing who the guy is, because yeah, let that definitely be known. Damn, I really hate to play the what if game, because you can legit play that game all day in these situations. But as the story was going on, I couldn't help but to wonder. I kept sitting there like, yo, what if school wasn't canceled? What if it wasn't canceled? What if they went to school? Man, this could have all been avoided. I was not at all blaming the parents for dropping the kid and her friend off to go play, because they were legit dropping the kid off to go play. They were not thinking nothing like this can happen. I know ish like this can happen, but man, look, most people don't live their life like us, how we just paranoid every 2 seconds about everything and everybody. Some people legit just live, man, and he don't even look athletic with all them big ass clothes on. Unless he had a gun or something, man. They could have easily outran dog. I don't give a fuck. Even has a gun, you have to shoot, because never let him get you to the second location.
Despite thousands of tips pouring in as soon as this video was made public, they still don't know who this guy is, no arrests have been made, and the case remains unsolved. Before The Bachelorette pitted 30 men against each other to win one woman's heart, Americans watched another show about random strangers competing for a mate. It was called The Dating Game. Starting in 1965, this reality show featured a woman asking 3 men questions without...
Isn't that the one The Game was on? I think.
About random strangers competing for a mate. It was called The Dating Game. Starting in 1965, this reality show featured a woman asking 3 men questions without seeing their faces, and based on their answers, at the end of the show, she would choose one to go on a date with. On the surface, the September 13th, 1978 showing of The Dating Game looks like every other episode with lots of unsubtle innuendo, but this episode would go down in history as a one-of-a-kind, and not in a good way. At the end of this particular show, it was time for the Bachelorette, Cheryl Bradshaw, to make her decision. I know this one. And she would choose Bachelor number 1, who would turn out to be this tall, good-looking, long-haired guy whose name was Rodney. Rodney comes around the partition, and they see each other for the first time, and everybody laughs, and they hug, and the show looks like every other show, and on stage, Rodney looks like every other contestant that's ever been on the show. But after the show ended and Cheryl and Rodney went backstage...
Rodney a damn serial killer. I think I know this story. I don't know, though. Bobby pissed that show set me up with a serial killer. Hello, customer service! Bitch. But no, I don't know. I'm just thinking of some shit. It just don't sound right to me. I don't know.
Guy whose name was Rodney. Rodney comes around the partition, and they see each other for the first time, and everybody laughs, and they hug, and the show looks like every other show, and on stage, Rodney looks like every other contestant that's ever been on the show. But after the show ended, and Cheryl and Rodney went backstage, and actually began having a real conversation that was not being filmed, Cheryl would say that Rodney completely changed. He became incredibly creepy and was saying things like, "I always get the girl." And then at some point he says, "Hey, you should come out with me tonight. It'll be a date you'll never forget." And she turns to him and just says, "No thanks." This would turn out to be a really wise decision because Rodney was a horrible, horrible person. Had the show done a background check on Rodney, they would have discovered that he assaulted an 8-year-old and went to jail for 3 years for it and was currently on parole. But even if they had done a background check on Rodney, the check would not have discovered what he did at night. Rodney was shamelessly cocky and self-confident, and unlike a lot of men, he had no issue walking right up to any woman anywhere and flirting with her. And he used that to his advantage. He would go up to women in bars and he would convince them that he was a fashion photographer and that they were so beautiful, would you come back to my apartment and do a photo shoot with me? And just like Cheryl on the dating show, these women were immediately kind of charmed by him and would say yes.
Damn.
Once they got back to his apartment, he would shut and lock the door and then become that creepy guy.
Because beauty is skin deep. Ain't that shit crazy, dog? Legit. You can say what you want, but people give people passes versus them being ugly versus them being hella beautiful. Look, you live in the same world I live in. Don't sit here and play this damn game with me, dog. Sometimes ugly people can say some shit and you be like, I don't know. But who's to say though, right? You might think I'm ugly. That's cool. But then you look at some people, they look good. You're like, no, they're not capable of doing X, Y, Z. She bad as hell. Like, no. Damn. I do remember vividly though. It was the year like 1961. It was 1 year. The only year I didn't like when those girls played that damn game when they raped the boys in school. That was the only year I didn't like it. Because I remember playing that year and there was this one girl that used to hate me, dog. And she legit gave me a 2 and was convincing people to give me a 2. I wanted to fight this shit. No, for real, stop playing. It was 1 year, though, I did hate it because, man, this girl used to piss me off, though. We got cool after that, but...
And he would convince them that he was a fashion photographer and that they were so beautiful, would you come back to my apartment and do a photo shoot with me? And just like Cheryl on the dating show, these women were immediately kind of charmed by him and would say yes. Once they got back to his apartment, he would shut and lock the door and then become that creepy guy that Cheryl saw backstage. But unlike Cheryl, who at the time she saw this just said, I'm not interested, and was able to leave, these women were trapped. And then whether they wanted to or not, they would do a photo shoot with him and then he would strangle them to death. Because Rodney Alcala was not your typical dating game contestant.
Yeah, he could turn it on and off too. Yeah, it sounds like this dude it sounds like he's definitely aware of like, all right, I got this charm. I'm about to use this to my horrible advantage.
Because Rodney Alcala was not your typical dating game contestant. He was a serial killer who, by the time he stepped foot on that show and was chosen by Cheryl Bradford to win the game, he had already killed 4 people. And over a 2-year period, he killed as many as 130 people, which, if you're doing the math, is over those 2 years, he was killing at least 1 person a week. Alcala was finally apprehended.
The fact that he knew he could turn it off so good, like, I'm gonna kick it up a notch and go to a game show.
2 years, he was killing at least 1 person a week. Alcala was finally apprehended and he was sentenced to death. Here are some highlights from Rodney Alcala's episode of The Dating Game.
And we're going to start by having them say hello to you and see how they sound. Number 1, would you say hello to Cheryl, please? We're going to have a great time together, Cheryl. Okay, and here we go.
Not gonna lie, he seemed normal. I'm not gonna lie, dog.
1, would you say hello to Cheryl, please? We're going to have a great time together, Cheryl. Okay, and here we go.
That was a perfect ass smile. I ain't gonna lie to you, dog.
Hello to you and see how they sound. Number 1, would you say hello to Cheryl, please? We're going to have a great time together, Cheryl. Okay, and here we go.
Bachelor number 1.
Yes?
What's your best time?
The best time is at night. Nighttime.
Okay, now that part I don't know.
The best time is at night. Nighttime.
Why do you say that?
Because that's the only time there is.
The only time? What's wrong with morning, afternoon?
Well, they're okay, but nighttime's when it really gets good.
Bachelor number 1. I am serving you for dinner.
Oh.
What are you called?
You like that?
And what do you look like?
Vice versa, though.
I'm called the banana, and I look really good.
You see the kind of play on the sexual. Hey, this nigga know what he doing. See how he kind of played on her a little bit to take her mind a little bit there. I'm the banana. I'm the shit. Stop playing with me. Look, she. Oh my god. Damn. She was already she alive. She's already tasting the banana.
And I look really good.
Can you be a little more descriptive?
Peel me.
So he uncut.
I'm gonna ask you.
I'm cut gang over here, dog. So I don't know what he's talking about. I don't know, dog.
I'm gonna ask you a question. Will that date be bachelor number 1, bachelor number 2, or bachelor number 3? Who gets
Well, I like bananas, so I'll take one.
number 1?
What the fuck I tell you? My bad. I got my ghetto. You probably didn't hear what I said, but I said, what the fuck I tell you? Still got to keep it low though for the suspense. She was tasting a banana. He know what he doing. Turn this shit on and off. You think I'm playing, but I'm dead ass serious right now. Turn. Then just turn it off. I ain't gonna cap though. She'd have been hot if she picked number 3. Hey, yeah, give me a hug. But I ain't gonna lie though. I do feel good knowing she walked away from this, and she was luckily in a place where it was like, don't want to really create a scene here because I'm quite sure security here. We're in the damn building where we're doing the game show. I'm telling you, man, I love when people catch these red flags. I told you, some of these stories, I feel like I'd be like, all right, I'm using a little too much hindsight. But like, nah, some red flags. Some people catch them. Ooh, caught that one. All right, that's the second one. I'm out of here. She caught that and dipped.
Who gets the dates?
Well, I like bananas, so I'll take one.
Number 1, bachelor number 1. All right. He's a skydiver, so he's got a lot of nerve. He's into motorcycling. He's also a fine photographer. Say hello to Rodney Alcala.
That must be, what, 1, 2 lies and the truth, or whatever that gang, because I bet only the last one was real.
Say hello to Rodney Alcala. Rodney, come on and say hello. Congratulations, Rod. You did it with a 1 answer.
So that's gonna do it, guys. I
Oh,
hope you enjoyed today's stories.
Mr.
Thought
Baller.
in the comments, and I will pin the best comment at the top of the comments section. If you enjoyed today's video and you haven't done this already, please offer to give the like button.
Now that was a creepy story. The reason why that one was really creepy to me is because I never watched it, but I am aware of the dating game. And the fact that I was just thinking like, yo, that this guy is in there legit. Like I'm putting everything to the test at this point. In the public eye and don't even know it. But the crazy thing is, I was like, is how things advance. Now I was like, yo, you put yourself in the public eye. Now people finding everything out about your ass, whatever. But man, hey, I'm gonna go ahead and get up out of here. Rest in peace to all those ladies he took out. Damn, now one of them ladies know how to fight. Hey, I just started watching this story that came across my feed on Facebook, showing my age, dog. Just came across my Facebook. It was this this black chick, whatever. She was kind of growing. I'm gonna kind of paraphrase, kind of go over quick. But as I was watching it, because the reason what I was about to say was, my bad, I got ADHD bad. But because what I was about to say was, damn, not now one of these girls beat this dude up, put a fight, I don't maybe put up a fight, whatever. But then I was gonna transition to, see, I've been trying to get my ADHD down. I've been Googling this shit, I've been reading stuff. I'm getting control of it. But look, okay, whatever though. Back to the story. So I started watching the story of this black chick, whatever. She was kind of growing up as a fighter. I think her dad was kind of making her always fight, or maybe her uncle, whatever. Don't remember, but it was kind of like some abuse-ish, whatever. Then I guess one serial killer was like at a party, whatever, and she was a little girl. I don't want to spoil it because I don't know if you want to watch this, but this is real life. This is not no damn ghost. I mean, you can leave at this point, whatever. So he's just there hanging out with the family and everything. Like, hey, how's everything going? Blah, 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 blah. And I think the little girl, I think she needed a ride home or something, or he just offered a ride home. Again, like I said, I'm paraphrasing. I just started watching this. It just came across my feed. Freaking crazy, dog. So he offered to take her home, but when he offered to take her home, he took her to the car. But it's a van, of course. But when she get in there, there's no like doorknobs and shit on it. There's locked. She started noticing all this extra ish that's going on. And I think like in the back seat was like a bed, like shit was like kind of laid out, set for some ish. Again, paraphrasing, just started watching this. But she noticed what was going on. Was like, yo, you're not taking me home. But either way it go, she ended up beating the shit out of the dog because he did not know that I cut a lot of it out because like I said, I just started watching it. But she was being raised as a fighter, dog, and legit turned it on, not just beat his ass, turned it on him, had him begging for his life. Like, no, we doing it this way now, XYZ, blah, 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 whatever. Freaking crazy. But yo, I'm gonna go ahead and get up out of here. Go ahead and enjoy your day. Definitely look that story up. I'm gonna look up some sources, that way you can click on it and read it, so you, or watch it. So you're like, boy, this nigga told the story all wrong. Because I don't want to read that in the comments. So I'm gonna go ahead and leave a source for that. Check it out. Yo, it's freaking crazy. But yo, enjoy your day, morning, evening, night, whenever you're watching this video. But I'm out.